So logos, ethos, and pathos can be used in leadership as well as anything else. So what I'll do is just take a minute and walk you through what each one means and its relevance and then how you can use it, okay? So someone who, we did it your way, we did it understanding what your communication style is, but now think about it from a receiver standpoint. So someone who would like to be communicated with via logo style, logic style, they see reasoning conducted on validity as the most important piece, validity. So they make decisions largely based upon logic. They see knowing as the most preferred or influential way to make decisions. Knowing more, they want to know. Okay? Now here's the fear part. Most of the time, someone who is logos, largely logos are logical, fear of the unknown is their greatest fear. Usually. Not all the time, but usually. So knowing neutralizes a fear of the unknown. Okay? Now here's what they want from you. The last two on these slides are the more relevant to you as a tactical persuader or influencer of people. What someone on your team, or a vendor, or a boss, somebody around you you're trying to persuade or influence, they want from you expertise. So they want you to be the deliverer of expertise. They don't want you to deliver anything else. They want you to deliver expertise. If you deliver expertise that is rationally superior to alternatives, they will choose you. You deliver expertise that is rationally superior to alternatives, and they'll choose you. The part of your previous tool, the previous sheet, I'll borrow yours just real quick. The part of this that is most important to a logos thinker is the process box. So if I'm talking to, and again I'm stereotyping again, I'm sorry, but if I'm talking to a plant manager or an engineer, more than likely, not always, I mean I've had plant managers I've worked with who were very big creative thinkers, C thinkers, right? But most of the time they're forced to be logical people, rational thinkers. The process part of the sheet is the most important part of your persuasion. And here's why. There's objective, your objective, and there's outcome, the outcome on them. The process is the path of explanation from your objective to their outcome. A logos thinker, a logical thinker, will not agree to or take action on or create or change or continue his behavior if there is any uncertainty between your objective and their outcome. There's got to be a high level of knowing between the objective and the outcome. Uncertainty is your enemy if you're working with a logos thinker. Okay? I, as more of a pathos thinker, I'm cool with a little bit more risk as long as that outcome makes me feel good. Okay? More coming on that. The second type is an ethos thinker. I'll tie it all back to proof a little bit. As many numbers as you can possibly have in your persuasion. That's speaking their language. So when you're talking to your husband, right, he doesn't need all those numbers to make a decision. He needs to know how it's going to benefit me. And if he believes you and it feels good, he's going to do it. Okay? With you, he needs to give you numbers and reasoning and rationale when he's trying to convince you of something. Does that make sense? Some of us have kids that have different ways of thinking and receiving, and you got to go with them in a different way. This is one of the reasons why it's hard work to persuade a small team of people to build a consensus or get them on the same page, because most of the time leaders or people on a team go to a project team, let's say it's 3, 6, 9, 12 people, and they try to persuade them all with the same argument. Well, you can't persuade them all with the same argument because they all speak different languages, right? So understanding what language each person speaks and speaking that language is imperative. It is hard work to influence a team of people because you really you can't just check a box. Now, if you get a team of 500 people, it becomes even more difficult because you can't have 500 different persuasion pieces. What you do, now I'm going a little bit ahead here, but what you do is you want to find the highest common denominator. Now, this is worth probably saying, taking a second on. If you're working with a larger team of people, find the highest common, y'all took fractions in school, right? There's lowest common denominator, highest common denominator. We have a tendency to go to the lowest common denominator when we are attempting to persuade an audience. Go to the highest common denominator. What is the highest level thing that they all share in common? And chase that. Okay? Now, then, on top of that, within 500 people, there are probably 50 influencers and 5 decision makers. And so I have a highest common denominator approach with the 500. With the 50, I put them in categories of people and hit them with the category. Each category gets its own persuasion. And then with the 5, each one gets its own. Does that make sense to you guys? So with the big one, highest common denominator. Middle one, put them in categories. Small one, hit them each individual one. Okay, I got off track a little bit there, but I wanted to give you that a little bit.
I think that's important though, because a lot of people make the mistake of whoever is the highest ranking title person in the room, that's who they tailor their persuasion to. But what they don't realize is that, again, once you leave the room, there are 5 other influencers in there that have his ear.
Yeah, and what if the highest ranking person in the room is someone who delegates?
Right.
Or even on the project teams that are on, it's like the squeaky wheel gets all the attention. So the person that opposes the most will get the best argument.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is worth saying. We on a faculty at a university, I'm on a faculty of about 200 professors in the business school. Okay, and y'all think y'all have crazy here. We invented crazy. Okay, if you're on a faculty, you got a bunch of really smart people. And the smarter you are, usually, I'm with you, the crazier you are, okay? And so we're announcing a hiring process for a new senior associate dean. So you have to put an email out to the entire faculty, right? And what our old dean used to do is he put the email out to the entire faculty, and the 5 craziest people would pop back with crazy emails asking for crazy information. And he'd go chase those squeaky wheels. Okay? Our new dean, she's brilliant. She has 2 opinions. Number 1, I'm going to address you based upon the extent to which you contribute. So if you don't contribute to the decision that much, I ain't talking to you. If you're a high contributor to the decision, then you get my attention. That's number 1. 2, and it's an old rap line, Jay-Z rap line. You can get more brilliant. You can get more leadership out of Jay-Z. But just don't go to leadership class. Just listen to rap music. But Jay-Z said, if you argue with a fool, people from a distance can't tell which one's which. And so the mentality is, if I start going back on emails to this crazy person with their crazy things, then I look like a fool for arguing with a fool. So the point in that, to all your points, is I do want to address the entire audience and be respectful, but I know who the influencers are, and I influence the influencers. And that's it. But people make the mistake of always going title. People who delegate, if it's something I don't care about, I'm delegating, I'm going to do whatever they want to do, is what I'm doing. So you need to influence them, not me.
Yeah, so true. It's either the title or, like you said, the squeaky wheel. Like, I can't get past the buyer, I'm going to have to address the buyer because the buyer is going to have all these things to say. Well, buyer's not your decision maker.
That's right. Category manager, in my world, it came from as category manager, it might be somebody in operations, it could be a number of people. And they're just silly old school biases like male versus female. Oftentimes folks will chase the male in the room. The male could be 9 levels down below and not just be there taking notes. But there's all kinds of things, but it's about understanding who really makes the decision, right? All right, so logos is the logical piece. Ethos is the people who are focused on belief. So this person believes, when being persuaded, being trusted or believed in is most important. When you get folks who fear they fear failure, they don't mind changing, but they fear failure, it's oftentimes because they don't have the security in the fact that what you're offering is going to be successful. They make decisions, their dominant decision-making mechanism and their dominant communication mechanism is belief. They have to believe something for it to happen. Trusting is what they see as the most important. They will always go with a more trusted advisor or a more trusted alternative than an unknown alternative or a new alternative. Trust. Now here's what they're looking for from you. You get somebody who's very ethos, they're looking for security from you. Risk is their enemy. And finally, on your sheet of paper, if you get an ethos thinker, and it's maybe a little bit more difficult to explain on the screen, but the examples are easiest with ethos. The proof piece of your sheet is the most important thing with an ethos thinker. And here's a more specific example. Anytime you can show an ethos thinker that somebody else has done it and it worked, then you have the best chance to win. Now I'm going to go one more, I'm going to dig a little more on that. An ethos person, you show them somebody else did it and it worked for them. Now here's the ultimate key. The person you use as the example, the closer that person is to being like them, the better chance you have